Well, hi everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube art tutorial channel. I'm a professional artist working from my studio in Essex in the UK and painting plein air in the countryside. In this week's video, I'm painting Galleywood Church on Galleywood Common here in Essex in the UK. Well, hi everyone. Here I am on Galleywood Common, and I'm actually at St Michael's and All Angels Church here on the Common. And well, I'm here to paint a commission really, and I decided to come up on a lovely day, lovely autumn day. Leaves are falling a little so I can see the subject more clearly, and I better get my drawing down onto watercolour paper. Well, there's the setup and there's the subject. Quite a tall spire that I've got to get into the paper, so the church will be set back. As I said, it's a lovely autumn day and a bit of shadow work, so we'll try and get the drawing down onto my watercolour paper and perhaps get some colour down as well. Well, here is the setup. It's my normal setup really, palette, 3 brushes, and the drawing is now onto the watercolour paper, so I've just got to add colour really. Now the first thing I need to do is select a blue really. Now I'm going to put a little colour in the sky, and the colour in the sky is going to be light red with just a touch of raw sienna, just to knock it back. And I'm going on to dried paper because I want some of these light clouds to actually, they are very light. Let's make that just a little darker. There you go. To stand out and sing really amongst the blue. Right, now I'm going to clean the brush. And the blue I'm going to use, at least to start with, is Windsor blue. So that's quite a strong blue. And that's going to create a blue coming in on the dry paper over the top and into that damp area there. And I'm shaping the clouds with the point of the brush. There we go, don't want that to run down, there we go. And then I'm painting in the undersides where it's damp. So we've got wet and dry colour going in there. Be behind the tree. Now I'm going to pick up, got to work quickly here, got to pick up the weather vane plus the side of the church tower, which is quite a feat to achieve. There we are, just pull that away. There we go. Right, let me just get the side of this tower. Oh, and I'm going to go around those areas there. I don't want that to be too wide, and we can't actually see any gaps there. Right, that's brilliant. Right, keep that flowing, and the same colour has to be used on the left hand side. Just trying to maintain that weather vane, and I'm having to move round a touch here because it's job to see where I'm going. But let's just put a line in and see. Don't want to overpaint it if I can help it. Ah, that's getting somewhere near it, I think. Yeah, gradually working my way up to it really, rather than overpaint. A little bit of overpaint there, but that's not a problem. And then I'm going to use the surplus colour to paint in up to and around. There's just that tower needs to be just thinned a little. There we go. Now I'm going to paint down as far as, lift that up and just give it a little, tend to that in a second. It's happening all very quickly, which it does sometimes with these sort of subjects. It's not drying that quickly, which is a bonus, but things seem to be happening very quickly. because I don't want it to dry. I could have damped, but I elected not to for a reason that I can't really tell you. But anyway, that's in the distance there, that runs down there like that. Oh, and just a little, make certain that this is still damp. Yes, we're getting away with that, that's good. Now we're heading to the top there, round there, over painted a bit there, but that's not a problem, and a little bit more colour here going in, and now we're painting around the buttress areas. We're going to create a feeling of depth there. There's a tree there that I'm preserved purely because I want that to be a bit lighter. This thing goes down like that. There we are. That's these first washes that shape the picture. Now I'm using a damp brush just to feather the edge of that cloud, and I think has worked pretty well. Soft bottom, hard at the top. Right, now while that's drying, I'm going to get in some depth here. So I'm going to go in with cobalt blue now and light red, mainly cobalt blue, but it does have a little bit of light red, and it needs to be a strong mix. I have damped my paints up, but perhaps I've damped them up a bit too much. But anyway, let's just drop this in, and it comes up fairly high, and see it blowing up into that area there, and I'm just going to create an uneven edge, because that's an overhanging tree that's actually in a little bit of light. Well, that will be light at the end of it, I'm not really sure. Anyway, that runs to the back there like that. Now I'm adding a bit of raw sienna to that, because I want a greeny blue. So a bit of raw sienna, that's it, yeah. So it's not quite as distant colour. And I'm painting across that tree, a little bit to the left, the right there, and the same colour, a little bit more yellow going in. If I can just catch it, is it dry? No, that looks as if I've got away with that. There we go. Bit more yellow going in, and if we get one or two little hard, oh, that's okay, I'm happy with that. They'll soften off a touch just to give a more local feel to that tree that side. Look at that. That's fine. Now I'm going to paint in around that hedge there, and around as many of these, bit more blue, as many of these gravestones. I'm still playing with, or working with this brush, because I don't want to keep changing brushes. Besides all that, it all gets rather fussy, so I don't need that fussy feel to that. There's another one there, and there's another one there, another one there, and these are the gravestones in the background, which stand up in the graveyard or churchyard at the back. And that's going to finish there. We're going to have light there, so let's just pull that across. That's okay. Now while that's drying, I'm going to put in the bit of greenery in the grass, so a little bit of cadmium going in here because I want the green to be quite light initially. Gives me a chance to get some sunlight on the whole thing. I mean, it is winter, but I mean, you know, well, autumn, but you know, there's still a little bit of green here in the grass, which I'm sort of happy to portray. A bit more here, and we're going to pick around these gravestones. I always like picking around gravestones. They shine then when you come to put any other colour around them, and by working like this I've got every opportunity to create a nice film of sunlight onto this, because this is what it's all about. It's capturing sunlight, and if you can capture sunlight, you've got chance to create a nice sort of feeling within your picture, which is what I try and do all the time. And I said try because it's not always that it actually works. Adding a bit more yellow now right in the foreground like that, with a little bit of red, a little bit of light red going in. There we go. And this warm green is going this side as well. A bit more yellow into that. Brilliant. One of my favourite things to paint grasses when we've got sunlight on them. And let's bring that colour into this foreground area here, and a bit of red gone in, a bit of dappled sort of shading in there. I like that red, works extremely well with greens, and I'm going to bang in a bit of red that side. There we go. And that needs to be left to completely dry. Now I've added like a distant bluey cloud in the distance, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put on a very light wash using the smaller brush now of raw sienna. Now I'm going to put that onto, sun's coming from the left, so I'm putting that into the right hand side and the centre of that initially, because that is the darkest area of the lot. Right, so that's okay. Then we'll continue that down. I'm leaving the belfry church louver window at this stage. There we go, reloading, because this to me is the sunlight that I can see. That is the good thing about painting in, you know, on plein air, because you can actually get the feeling of the light that you're trying to portray. And that's what I'm trying to do here. So this is all the sort of warm brick tone that I can see. It has some red in it, but just before it dries I will drop some in, but in the meantime I've got to get in the colour of the stone itself, or the bricks. They're actually bricks, which is some lovely old church, 151 years old this September. So we're now in October, so there you go, 151 years old last month. If you've never been to Galleywood Common and you live local, always worth a look, because I think it has some lovely qualities regarding walks, and the church is superb. There we go. Quickly do this because I want, and just do that and that and that. We'll sort that out in a minute, or at a later date. My favourite term. Right, I'm going to put in some sort of a bit of red and a little bit of blue, and that's the red and the blue that I've used before, because we do have like a green grey to these bricks. Not too much, but here and there I also like greeny grey, and I think that so it does it really for what I'm looking for. And then the frontage of this is the same colour, painting around the door opening. So that's that greeny grey. Alright, notice I've not painted the buttress areas at this stage. Right, that's the greeny grey. Then I'm introducing the yellow into that, because that way I give it a lovely tint. Now the path in the foreground is needs to be quite, I want this to be quite light, using the blue and the green again with a little bit of yellow in there, just to create a grey really. That's what I'm looking for. I think I've got that. Okay, and that path runs along there. Don't want to show that too much because that'll all blend together. That's the problem if you do that. Leave some gaps, that's it. Past experience tells me certain things when I'm painting. I've done it all before, so consequently I know the mistakes that can happen, and I'm adding even more red as I come forward. There we go. So it's a bit more red in the mix, but still very, very weak. And I'm just dropping in just a couple of lines really, or 3 lines, because that just gives a nice feel to just soften them a little, you know, a feeling of entry, you know, into the picture. Now the roof area is light red, and a stronger mix. I'll put a little bit of raw sienna in there. So and I'm going to paint just a straightforward roof. I'm not going to show, am I going to show a little bit of light on there? Whoops, ran over, there you go. Well, I suppose I can, like that. Not on that bit. Nice to have a little bit of unevenness, I suppose. There we go. That just gives it an aged sort of look to the whole thing. Like that. And round the porch, because it's vital that we hold that porch, and that's got to meet up, so wherever that goes, that's got to go there like that. That's perfect. Right, that's okay. And this side is going to be a little bit lighter because the sun is just catching that, and that's going to be at a bit of an angle, not too much. So that's a little bit lighter like that, and that finishes there, comes down there like that. That's that roof. Oh, and there's another bit of roof there. Must paint that in for obvious reasons. And then we have a lighter area of roof at the back. And they all have a capping on the top. So that'll be interesting. That should work quite well. Right, I'm going in with some slightly darker raw sienna for the arch of the door there. Bit of ornate pillar work there. So not quite as dark as that, but just feel it looks right. There we go. And of course the windows as well. You've got like an arched inner frame goes across. Don't want to get too fussy with this picture. It's got to be an impression. You know, if you get too bogged down, then it's never quite quite the same. There we go. And then we have the centre pieces and a bit of ornate sort of finishing at the top. Main thing is get those main centre lines in around the top, and one or two little ornate touches to these lovely windows. There we go. That's good. Two on there. This is a little bit more ornate, but there we go. Suggestion is far better than painting. We even got the same there, so let's put that in as well. Far better than painting all of it. Paint it all in, you've got nothing for the viewer to imagine, which is not ideal. Yeah, and I'll just put that in at the little belfry, little tiny belfry window at the top there. There you go. Right, now this colour is going in for the chimney, a bit weaker than that. Initially on the shadow side, and the shadow sides of the buttress areas. Here we go. Perfect. Oh, and that's a shadow side as well, so it's got to be painted in that point. And where do I go from here? Don't know. I think we'll sort of like analyse that. Oh, hang on. just talk amongst yourself for a moment. Just got to do this buttress area here to the main build, and then buttress area there that's in shadow. Don't want to, the buttresses, oh, let's paint that in as well, because I forgot to paint that initially, so that'll go in there. And while I have a little bit of red in the palette, I'm going to put in the roof that we can see that lays at the back, like that, and that will give us perspective on that roof, like that. There we go. And I'm just going in now with some cadmium yellow with a touch of raw sienna, and that's going in to the real sunlit side, because I want that to really shine. Whether that's going to do the business or not, I don't know, but either way. And of course the buttress areas, down, down, down like that, leaving the tops unpainted, because that'll give a nice crisp finish. There we are. Buttress areas, oh, there's one there. Yeah, we can see that, so that goes like that. It's like a different tone. And then finally, just tinting that chimney stack there. So I've maintained light onto the subject. Now we've got some lovely brickwork that that really is, it don't want to be too dark, but it needs to be fairly bright in colour. So that means that we've got to use plenty of water. Let's just try here. We've got a little bit of whoop, look at that, look, far too, there's better, there we are. Got a little bit of brickwork over the top of that there. A little bit of brickwork over the top there, using this smaller mop brush, and there is just a bead of brickwork that just runs like that. Now I'm only suggesting, if you notice, I'm not sort of putting clear lines in. We have another sort of line there, watch perspective with this, another one there, actually there's a couple there, which is rather strange, but there you go. And they go up and across the buttress, up and across the buttress, and up and across the buttress there. It really is observation with painting and drawing, of course, which you know, you develop as you paint. Now we've got a bit of brickwork along here. Now I'm not going to show, it's got quite a bit of brick, you know, uneven, there's individual bricks, but I'm not going down that route. We're looking purely at any red brickwork that I can see within the and there's just one or two little odd edges of brickwork here that just change colour. You know, they seem to blended these for some reason on the build, which makes for, you know, a bit of interest when you're painting, that is for certain. And then of course we've got the good old, we've got brick, a little bit of brick coming across there like that, and of course all of these windows have a bricking to the top like that. All helps to give, you know, to make the building look like Galleywood Church really, and which I didn't put these in pencil. I've only drawing them in as we go, because it makes it a little bit more loose as well, I think. There we are. Now that is getting there, I think. You know, there will be a point where I say I'm going to leave it at that. Haven't quite got to that point yet, but oh, the top of that edge there has some red bricking, and there is a bit of a lining in that. Now, as I say, don't want to get bogged down with that, but and the tops of these are a little bit on the grey side, so I'm putting those in just slightly grey. Don't want to put them in too dark. Yeah, I think that's okay. Yeah, I'm struggling now to find something to do, so let's put the brush down. One thing I want to get in before I go back into the studio to analyse the whole thing is this ridging tile along the top here. Now it's quite unusual, quite a large ridge. I don't want there again to get into too much detail, so I'm going to try and create a jagged edge like that. Right, so the best way to do this is to draw a line and then create the tops like that. Hello there, how are you? Well, I've returned back into the studio and set my materials up, and I'm all ready really to crack on and finish this scene of Galleywood Church. So looking forward to finishing this one off. Now, first thing I want to do is to tidy up around the edges, and then I'll do the windows not far off before we start looking at the shadows really. The first thing I want to do is just tidy this area up here. I need to finish this a little neater, and we do have some trees overhanging here, so I may as well put them in, and that all helps to give that edge a nice finish, nice sharp feel to it. Bit more yellow going in, a bit more raw sienna into the cobalt blue, and now we come down like that. I'm using this smaller mop because I think that works just as well for this passage. Just got to watch you don't just draw a line down the edge. We're going darker there shortly. So anyway, down we come, and it's a nice little shrub or tree that stands in the background, and that's why I wanted to put it in really, so that we've got that nice tree that we can see there. I want to preserve that if I can, but overall then we just see a little bit of that slope there, and that tucks back, and that more or less finishes like that. which is perfect really for tidying up that corner. There's a bit more blue going in now, and that will make it darker, which is what I'm looking to do right on the edge here and within the, there we are, the hedging or tree, whatever it is. We don't worry. There is a nice feel about these trees. I'm going to hang that over just a little bit further than that, just to ring the changes a little in that lower area. Don't want to make it too uniform. And this then would lend itself to helping. Can I blend that through? Probably not, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to extend that. A little bit of artist license going in here now, just to try and create a little bit of depth there, where those gravestones are really. Bit of depth to those gravestones, and then adding a little bit of water and gently teasing that away into that distance, so we get a nice bit of depth to that. So that's tidied up that end there, which is really what I wanted to do. Good. Now I'm going to paint the windows in. Prussian blue and light red I'm going to use for this, and although they are quite colourful, I'm going to don't be too fussy, but I want a nice feel to these windows. You know, there's a fine line between being loose and just blatantly careless, I suppose, which can happen when you're got these sort of subjects going in. Touch there, touch at the top, there you go. We're going to have to accept that, I think. Use the point of this brush again, that way I'm not getting too fussy. You know, if I start using a small brush again, you know, the rigger, then at the moment I'll try and reserve that for the real fine details, you know, the finishing touches, which is something that will come later on. There we are, and we'll carry on like that with the rest of the windows. Now an interesting area will be the door, and we've got the half open door like that. I think that should work, which is not too dark like that, because we have the vicar standing there, so we need to have him in real dark colour. But that's the half open door there, which more or less shoots off up to there. Shadows will cover a lot of the problems that perhaps we would have. Then I'm using more blue and more red again, so I use more red for that, light red. Now I've gone back with more blue in there because I want it very, very dark, so a real dark colour for the arch, and it's a bluey colour purely because it is just trying to pick up the shape of that really. There again, trying not to be too fussy, but the vicar will be standing in the doorway, just entering the church. So I'm picking around the vicar good old David. There you go, look at that. And his white robe. He's just going in to take a sermon. There we go. Perfect. And we probably will just see a little bit of that background there. Yeah. So the vicar is ready to be revealed, really. Right. Which will come later. Now I'm using light red and cobalt with a little raw sienna in there for the louvers on these belfry windows. So this is the wood areas, and I'm not counting them, as you can see. That will make no sense whatsoever to get too complicated there. And the door, little wooden door here, quite dark, but I've lightened it. That'll give us a chance to put a nice shadow. Tiny little door, not very tall, so that goes there. And just see whether there's anything else before we start looking at the trees. It probably isn't. Let's do some tree work. Now on the left we've got ivy running up this tree, so we want to show that. And I'm leaving one or two little touches unpainted. Don't want to make too much of this tree, or any of the trees really, because if we do, we end up taking the attention which is from the actual tree itself, the church itself. So that's fine. That's the ivy running up there. We'll make it go up a little bit further here and there. So put your ivy in first and then put your trunk work in around it. Trunk work is going to be, now I'm looking for some deep colour. I'm going to go in with Indian red here with a little Prussian blue, because I'm looking for a warm dark brown, and it's really dark. Bit more red in there. Don't want to take the interest, but I want it to be dark enough. Right, start in the base where the tree meets the ground. That sprays out like that, and then here and there you can see little patches of the trunk, and then all of a sudden the trunk reveals itself there, and then we go up. There we go, like that. So you notice how I paint the trunk from the base first. There we are. Right, a little bit more water in there. Okay, now this one I can remember, it's quite a large affair, and that goes up like that. This is the main trunk, which more or less goes out of picture, and then we have another one that goes off like that, and a smaller one I can see on my drawing that goes up like that. There we go. So that is that beginning of that quite dense tree. So we've not got any real let's just pull something out from here as well, because I know there's lots of little branches and bits and pieces, and we'll pull one out there. We'll do the rest to that later. Now next I'm going to use the same colour, a bit more blue in it this time, and some yellow, some raw sienna, just to give it a slightly greeny grey. And we've got this lovely old tree that's coming over here and just caressing itself over that that cloud. There we are. These brushes are lovely. You can form trees perfectly with those. So everything around it's going to be dark. Good. Okay. Right, now we've got the leafing. I'm going to use cadmium yellow into that to give me, it is a dark leaf colour, but it has a bit of greenery to it. Perhaps too much green for the time of year. Let's add, let me just have a think about this. Oh right, more red to that. There we are, a bit more warmth. And this then comes in across the top and over these branches, all very, very dark, all pretty much in shadow. I haven't put any more branches in, but there are a few to go in, but I haven't put them in yet because I want there you go, look at that. Isn't that lovely? That's this sort of, it's a fir tree of some sort which has some lovely branches that sort of overhang in long. So now I'm getting to the end. I'm trying to pick up the fin of these long branches that come over and across and round and down, of course. And over the chimney at that point. Not too much of that. Quite dense up there. There we go. Got my confidence up now to fill that in. I know I've got enough light, so that works quite well. Don't want to overdo that. Now I'm going to use the same colour, perhaps a little more yellow in it, for this one. Now this one I'm going to try and depict as slightly different. I'm using dry brush technique. It's quite dense at the top. Overhangs like that. And there again, I don't want that to impose too much on the church. There'll be one area that heads off towards the church quite considerably. It's probably there. And then it gets dense again before there's another one there. Quite a bit in the lower area. Put some more branches in later. And now we go dark. More blue, more red. Nice dark colours into and around some of those areas there. Because there are lots of trees around the church. But of course, we've got to just be a little careful that we don't impose on the there we are. I want that depth there. I must maintain that depth. Now I'm changing to the rigger and I'm using a very dark mix to put the gutter in. And the gutter will hang on brackets somewhere around there. And as always, don't make it too straight. It goes, there's an S-bend there before it goes into like a pot, a collecting pot there. Then it runs down, nice thick pipe there. Stop for an indication of a bracket of some sort. And I understand that runs to that. I understand that this one has a gutter, comes down to there, and I'm just assuming that one has a gutter as well, but that's we'll leave that to the imagination. Good. Now, while I have this dark colour, I have to put in the vicar's underrobe, like that. Now this will determine the height of the vicar, so just got to make certain we're not too low down with that. There we are. And he wears a sash down there and down there, and that is long too. There we are. I think that pretty much does it. Okay. Yeah, quite happy with the vicar there. Now I've put in the lamp, vicar's head, the vicar's head. Now I'm going to finish off with some smaller branch work, and we need a thicker paint than that, so we're going in quite strong with this again. And as I say, it's Indian red and Windsor blue, and this sort of heads off up there, and we have lots of different sort of varying. It's quite a wide, so we need that to be quite wide on the way up. Let's add a bit more water to that, a bit more red, deepen it a touch. There we are. That goes up there, and then we have another branch heading off there, and several just weaving their way through the top there, really. And you can use quite a lot of license with these branches. They're quite extensive. There we are. And I'm going to extend that to a branch there. I just think it adds itself to being a branch-like shape. I want to try and just head the eye towards that distance, that depth there. Now goes in the shadows. Windsor blue and alizarin crimson. And to start with, I'm putting the area of that belfry there, the belfry window, that actually stands nicely like that. Comes up into a point. Can I get that point with this brush? Well, we'll see later on. But anyway, and take a bit off because there's another little one there. Right, now we have that area there, that area there. Sunlight more or less coming from the left. So the right hand side has this lovely strong shadow that will pull some of that paint in and create beautiful film of light onto the spire. And then that finishes there. Right, so that's the start of the sunlight, and we've got the capping onto that there. That comes down like that. Then this is all in shadow. Like that. That comes down there like that. And we just see a little bit of that there, but not too much. All very sort of suggestive. Don't want any sunlight there because it's all in shadow. And we've just got a little bit of shadow there like that. We'll elaborate on that shortly. While we're doing this, that spire has cast a shadow on the roof at the back. There is a roof at the back, and I've got to try if I can to maintain the light little touches on the roof at the front. So, and this may not actually go all the way up. It may only go to there, and we can just then show the uneven top to that, because that's also got an uneven ridge tile. Go. So that's that. Yeah, that seems to work. And that's all from this spire shadow. Right, now we have a shadow there, and that then comes like that, and a small one there. We also have a shadow on the inside there and the inside of the belfry window, like that. And all of a sudden that seems to ping out from the roof. Then we have, oh yeah, we have some shadow work from some ornate brickwork there. So, and then we have shadow work on the inside of that belfry window, like that, and the side of that pillar, that, I forget what they call them now, but, and we've got a little bit of a top to them. I haven't shown that, but I'm going to show that. And we then have the shadow work from that buttress that stands out like that. So we've got shadow work like that, right? But we've also got casting shadow work, which is always interesting in these buttress areas, and they're always a little bit lower down, if you get my drift. And then that sprays backwards, funny enough, although it goes out like that and down. Right. This then has a shadow under there and a bit more there. Then that has a shadow under there and a bit more there. And that then pulls itself around the corner. It's all very interesting when you get these shadows on these buttress areas. Just make or break the picture, and I'm hoping that in the end it's made the picture. Yeah, I'm pretty much happy with that. Yeah, I think we can successfully be happy with that. Now we have a shadow from, there's that ridge there, roof, and a little underneath. That's fine. Right, a bit more colour now. Right, we have a buttress area there, and of course the casting shadow goes around that corner of that roof, and so that roof comes down to there. All very sort of technical, really. And that heads down there. I'm going to give that a little bit longer so it hits the corner of that building, that porch. That comes down to there. That comes down to there. That sits a little bit further back from the porch. There we go. Look at that. I'm actually going to put something down there, not sure why, but that just looks better. You know, you're going to make it look right as well as being authentic. And there is quite a, oh, there's some shadow on that little area that stands above there, but there's also a casting shadow from a slight overhang of the roof, like that. And now this is where it gets interesting. We have a shadow that casts over there, and over there, and round into that porch, just like that. Look at that. Isn't it beautiful? And absolutely lovely the way that is portrayed. Then we pull that shadow across the door, and that more or less finishes where the vicar stands. Look at that. Perfect. Now, this is where the interesting part comes. We're going to have a shadow then cast. Let's do the underside shadow first. Right, a nice deep shadow under the gutter. There. And this will continue all the way along, of course. And it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. This is 151 years old, this church. So a little bit uneven always helps. And of course, down the left-hand side of the downpipe, then we have a shadow that is cast from the porch that runs quite neatly around and creates that fin of light on the porch at the front. So there again, another interesting feature, and that goes into the window and up and over like that. And then of course you'll have a reveal shadow like that, and then the porch could slope down like that a little bit more. There we are. Let's bring that down. Let's not get too complicated, because you know, I will say quit while you're ahead. And of course we have a shadow then running up to that from the front of the porch. There we are. That's perfect. I like that. Seems to work. Right, now there's a little buttress area there. Now that is a buttress area that's in shadow at the side, so we'll get rid of that like that. That's okay. Now the rest of these need to go in across the top, down the left hand side because of the sun, like that. Load up again. Don't run out of paint, that's the key to this. And before I do that window, I want to try and get my head around where this shadow would come, because I'm making these shadows up, which is not the ideal thing to do, but with experience you get a bit of an idea of where shadows would actually lay onto roof areas. And I think that would probably come somewhere like that. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Oh, and under there, of course. And just under that bit there, and under the overhang here. Well, and that meets with that. Then we have the inside of that window too. The inside of this door. Like that. Let's just analyse this before we go any further. I'm just putting a touch more crimson in for the shadow, and I'm going to go over a lot of the ivy area, leaving one or two patches on the top and down the other side there. That's it, that's okay. Right, leave that all nice and dark. Then of course that then sweeps a shadow running towards the church, and of course more importantly the vicar, because we're trying to send the eye to that area. And if we do it like this with determined sort of brush strokes, there you go, and then gently lifting off as you go. We can even soften some areas there. Good. Now we use the same colour for the backs of the gravestones, the actual there and there, just a little bit along the base there, perhaps touch there, and a little bit running up there at an angle would be nice, and a little bit down the back edge there, another one there. We can elaborate on these later on, but let's just call that sunlight on there, a little bit under there. That's right, and of course this then casts a shadow. Now this one is more or less just a small shadow at the back, and that casts a shadow like that. There we are. Then I'm going to put some slightly weaker shadow, not too weak, from trees that are overhanging this foreground, and they cast across and around, dappling, a little bit of dappled light onto these areas like that. There we go. Look, that's lovely. When you can see light dappling on these foreground areas, you know, it really intrigues me when I'm painting. To see these little glimmers of sunlight from leafing onto this foreground area. And of course, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shadow that too. Keep that as a area that runs away, and there will be just some little touches of shadow running down the corner of that building from a tree that's overhanging. Like that. And I'm just going to put in a little bit more red now into this foreground shadow in this bottom corner. Just a little bit more into there as well. And with a damp brush, just going to soften them a touch so they're not too clearly defined in places. Not everywhere, just in some places. There we go. Anything that's wet will spread, anything that's dry will just lay. While that is drying, I'm just going to put one extra tone down there. Let's add a bit more colour to that. Raw sienna, bit of light red, just to create a grey, really. More or less a greeny grey, because I want that to be a tone lot darker than that edge there. So you've got 3 tones: light, medium and dark. And while I've got this tone, I'm going to do that to the chimney as well, because that chimney does have an extra tone to it, like that. Don't want to take away the light. This is the key. If you overpaint too much now, you're removing that lovely fan of light that is hitting the front of that building. One or two little. There's the weather vane to go in there. Just a little bit of indication of something on the top. That's okay. Just lift that off just a touch, a little bit heavy. That's okay, it's fine. And we have branches now that come across and support these leaf areas. That's it. I'm telling myself to be a little bit sort of you know, be a bit determined with these. I don't want to be too, you know, they're all, if you're too tentative, then they never will look right. Gotta just go for it, really, and just hope that you get it right. And I think overall, don't want them to taper too quick, make them a bit wider there. I think overall that seems to have worked quite well. Now some little finishing touches with some warm colour. And the important finishing touches will be wherever I think they're required, which doesn't really tell you a lot, I know, but it's under those buttress overhangs. They're the little areas that you can see shadow under there. That's it. Yeah, that's where they'd be. Ooh. Now on a different tone, front of those and the front of those. So, cleaning the brush again, just picking up a bit of grey tone again, very weak, because I want that to be slightly darker in tone than the edge there, so that's going to be darker as well, just so as you can see the difference between one and t'other. Don't know where they say t'other, but somewhere in the country. There we are. You can see the light, medium, then the dark area of the porch opening there. Good. Well, there you have it. The picture, I've now taken the surround away, and I'm just going to sign it. I'm going to sign at the bottom right hand corner. I think is the best place for it. I'm going to put it down here so that it can be seen, and I sign it in Steed these days. And there you have it, Galleywood Church in all its autumn glory. And finally, I added the 2 buttress areas to the right of the porch between the 3 windows.